Hi guys, this was my little grill for when I jerked some moose for the Christmas dinner. So that means a lot of snow has disappeared now. Well, today it will be my second and last in the series of bush navigation. Been thinking a lot about what I said last time and how to better explain some of the things. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk straight into that wood there, and after about maybe 2-3 kilometers I should be able to find that same spot again with the chaga and the razor strop fungus. And on my way there I'm going to try to very consciously record what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so I'll be able to tell you better about it when I'm there. So that will be the first thing. After that I will show you some other nice tricks. So for now I will be going that way. Right guys, I want to record one of the first things that I noticed I did, because now I'm really in tune to find out what I'm actually doing. And the first thing I did is more of a standard kind of navigation trick, and that's use a catch. I used a base line or a catch line, and in this case that is this kind of alley. You will see there is an alley here, and that is because there is a power line going through the woods here. Catches are really nice to use because they, well, like the word says it, they catch you, and from there you can reorient yourself. Like on this line here, I know where I am slightly on the height of it, so I can go up along the line or down to position myself better for what I'm going to. So that's a great thing, especially when you have a map, to identify catches, so that whatever you do you actually get caught by these things so that you can reorient yourself. The other thing I'm using is actually the slope of the terrain. I will show you. I don't know if this actually is visible on the camera. I will try to keep this as straight as possible based on the trees. You see there is a gradual slope downwards, and I know that this terrain will slope downwards in about 3 kilometers towards the lake, and that direction is actually west of here. So if I move and do not lose altitude, do not lose elevation, just keep the same elevation all the time, I will be roughly going north or south, and by keeping the higher parts of the terrain on my right side, I know that I will be going roughly in a northerly direction. So that is something I'm using as well. This isn't really easy actually, because this is all being re-engineered. It's stuff that I do automatically, but now I'm trying to really analyze what I'm doing to get to this place. Okay, I'm going onward. So, as you see, winter doesn't easily release its grip here. It's starting to snow, and I just wanted to record another thing. When I was walking here following my somewhat northerly course, I found a really nice track of a moose, very fresh, and I just wandered off following that. And after a while I kind of thought, well, let's get back to what I'm actually doing. Also an interesting point is that the bears are waking up now, so better not being all too quiet around here. Now, so I just went back to my trail and followed. But then I was thinking, hey, how did that work? How can I just stop going around in circles and following trails and so on, and still stop that going back to where I started and moving on? That is again done by reading the terrain. And not only that, also to keep my frame of reference constant. It's really interesting. We tend to translate our frame of references. When we turn, our reality just turns with us all the time. We have our own little coordinate system, and it just turns with us. And I've seen once a program on TV where they did an experiment with putting a house on a table. And the assignment was, well, take this house, this model of a house, the front door and the back garden, put it on the table over there so that it's exactly the same. And most people, they would take this house, put it on that table, with the door on this side and the garden on the back, but that effectively means that we have translated our frame of reference in 180 degrees. And they also let some indigenous people like Australian Aboriginals do that. And they took this house, the model, and did not translate it. They took it and put it down on the table with the back garden this way and the front door at the back. They kept the frame of reference of this house the same. And it's the same when they tell stories. We tell stories and say, well, Jack went that way. And they will tell stories like, well, Jack went that way. But when he turns around, we will still say, well, Jack went that way. But he will say, well, Jack went that way. They seem to keep a steady reference. And that is something that you can actually learn. I noticed that I did that when I went off trying to find this moose. I actually kept in my head the whole frame of reference the same and recorded my own movements in there. Also, of course, in combination with reading the terrain. I'm going to just give you a pan around here to show you that I'm actually completely in the middle of the woods. And you see, that bit is a bit higher there. That is towards the east. I'm now turning towards the south. And I'm turning back again towards the west. Well, you see, the terrain slopes towards. Well, this snow's getting pretty annoying for the camera, actually. Another thing, because what happened next was I walked back towards my trail and just walked for a few minutes more. And then I saw something that I showed you in the first movie. And it wasn't that it was in my line of sight. It was on the periphery of my angle of vision. And that is really an interesting point. While I'm walking in nature, I tend to deploy a mode that is called peripheral vision. I'm not focusing completely in the center of my image, but I try to open up the whole 180 degrees that a human can actually see. And if you're able to detect things that are off-center, you will find a lot more stuff like animals moving or the interesting things that you need to recognize when trying to find something. And in this case, I actually did. I would say somewhere at 60 degrees from the center, I saw this really characteristic birch tree that I showed you last time. I'm going to try to, I don't know if the camera can pick it up. I'll try to zoom in on that to find it. Yeah, you see? There it is. And I showed you that last time from a completely different direction. And that is a really interesting point to see, because that means that I found my point. And you have to imagine that I didn't see it like this. I saw it when walking, well, like this, somewhere on the periphery of my, the direction I was walking and looking in. So let's go there now. So there it is. Now you see, I came in here now from a completely different angle. And you will be seeing that because there you have that statue. I had in the last film, I showed you something that was like some sort of statue which was along that tree. And actually, by just moving the camera slightly, you see, there you have the tree that was scraped by the moose. So I know that I'm very close to that fungi, and actually I can see them with my bare eyes now. Try to zoom in on that. Yeah. There you have both the shaga and the razor strop. We tend to navigate quite mathematically. We use angles, we use a compass, we use GPS and stuff like that. But I think that if you go back thousands of years, or even now the native people that still are around, I don't think they use that kind of methods. They use the sun to give cardinal directions, and then they use all kinds of clues to keep them on their track. And I don't think they actually follow just a bearing. They follow routes. They try to find the best routes between points, from one hunting field to another hunting field. You have to organize the world around you in some way that it makes sense to you, in small sequential steps. It's the same with doing the shopping. I have this problem that every time I get a shopping list dictated by me when I'm at the office, I write it down, and I always forget this shopping list. And then when I'm at the shop, I forget half the stuff I had to take with me. So what I did there was take the items on the shopping list when it was dictated to me and put them in the order that I will normally walk through the store. So you will first have the breads, and then you will get to the coffee, and then you will get to the meat. If I organize it in that way, and I forget my shopping list, when I take that route through the shop, I will remember the items that I need to get. You can also take that the other way around. If you would have a list of items, it would translate to a route, and you would take the same route through the shop. And I know, I actually saw on TV that I think it was again the Aboriginals of Australia, that they passed down from generation to generation songs, and these songs, they give the clues on how to navigate the land from one hunting field to another one. And that is really an interesting point. You kind of arrange clues in your mind to decode the path. So I put on my jacket. So the next thing I'm going to show you is, we talked earlier in the first film how to measure or set out angles using the handspan and so on. But there's another really nice trick that you can learn when you're out in the woods and you just have a bit of rope. You don't really need this very large bit of rope, just a bit. I will show you how to do this. Right, so what I want to do is, I have this bit of rope and I want to put 12 knots in this, and the knots should be at equal distances from each other. So you see, the knot is exactly the same distance, and I want to have 12 of these in total. So an easy way to do that is you just take a stick, you put it at this knot, put your thumb there, and make a little loop. I don't want to make real knots in this case, So I just make a little loop there and tighten it, and then you can check if it is the same. Well, it is. So I will do this for 12 knots. So I did all the knotting. You see, I started with, at the beginning of the rope I put a little knot, and not counting that one, I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. This is my 12th knot, and I put that one, because it is a little loop, I can easily put it around it, so that this basically becomes one knot. So I now have a loop here with 12 knots with equal distances. So you see, I packed out the loop in a triangle, and now you might see why I made 12 knots. Because if you maybe dig deep back in your high school mathematics, back to Pythagoras, you might remember that if you have a triangle with 1, 2, 3, 4 units there, 1, 2, 3 units on that side, you will have one with 5 on that side. And then you know that this one is a perfect 90-degree angle. You cannot lay this down differently. If you have 3, 4 and 5 units, you will have a really good 90-degree angle. And that can be used, of course. Obviously, if you know that this is your baseline, for instance, you know that this is a line towards the north, and you need to go towards the east, using this little device, which is just a piece of string with 12 knots at equal distances, you can stake that one out with the 4 units on your baseline, the 3 units towards where you think the east is, or what's going to be the east, and then just making the triangle, you will have a perfect 90-degree angle on this side. So just stand here, take sight, try to find something in the distance there, and you know that is due east. But that is not everything. Now if we take away this little pack here and take this loop, we now have a triangle that has 3 equal sides. Checking that it's actually right. So this is 3 equal sides. And if this is a course that you know of, say 0 degrees towards the north, from this corner to the middle knot here is exactly 30 degrees, because all these corners have an angle of 60 degrees. So taking a line towards this knot, 30 degrees from north. To this knot, 15. More interestingly, that one, 45 degrees from your baseline. So if that's from north, that will be northeast. Just a little piece of rope can be very, very good navigation aid. Right guys, to conclude this, 2 tricks to estimate a distance. And for you to be able to estimate a distance to something, you need some object that is at that distance that you know the size of, or at least can estimate the size of in some measure of accuracy. Say a car, or a house, or something like that. Quite often used to find the distance towards shore when you're on water or whatever, but it works in all kinds of situations. In the middle of the woods it's a bit hard because you don't have anything really that you know the size of, but still can be useful. What you're using is that there is fixed proportions in nature for how humans are built, and of course there are variations, but hey, this is estimation. But one of the things is that the width of your thumb is about 30 times as small as the length of your arm or the distance towards your eyes. And mathematically, those proportions are the same, even if like the arm would be 100 meters, the thumb would be proportionally bigger. So what you do basically is you see something in the distance that you know the size of, you put your thumb out and you see, well, I know that thing is 10 meters wide, and I also see that it is just as wide as my thumb. I can cover it exactly with my thumb. Then you know that that object is about 300 meters away from you, because the proportions are the same. So 30 times the thumb will give you the length to your eyes. And if you know that thing is 10 meters wide, hey, 30 times that is 300 meters. You can also do that by using another proportion, and that is the proportion of the distance between your eyes and the length of your arm. And that is 10 times, about 10. Again, you can calibrate that more exactly for yourself, of course, if you have the time. But if you just need to know something quick, you can use 10. I think it's anywhere between 8 and 10, mostly. And how does that work? Well, instead of using both edges of your thumb, you're only using one. So if you see something out there that is 10 meters wide, that you know or estimate to be 10 meters wide, you stretch out your arm and only look with one eye. You close one eye and you look with the other eye alongside one of the edges, say the left one. You look at it and you put it on the object, at the edge of the object. Then you close that eye and open the other one. Then you will notice that the object has shifted to the side. If it's shifted to the side with exactly 1 times the size of the object, then you know that that is 10 times the distance, so 10 times 10 is 100 meters away from you. If you see it went 2 sizes of the object to the side, you say, okay, then it's 200 meters. Because again, the proportions keep being the same. So that is it's a bit mathematical, but the tricks to do is really simple. You don't need to be a mathematician to do it. But to understand it has to do slightly with the proportions in the angles. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little series. I hope you picked up on the little tricks I use to navigate. What I even much more hope is that you picked up on the message that navigation in this form is a lot about nature awareness, and that this is something that I can't really teach, but I certainly can develop it in people and bring it out. It's not very tangible. It's very hard to talk about it. I try to analyze it. I try to re-engineer it today, but in the end, it will be different for everybody. But the results, that's what it's all about. And learn the tricks, but train yourself on the nature awareness bit and making the mental maps of your environment. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this, and see you on the next film, guys. By the way, the fact that you're watching this movie is the best proof that it actually works.